G'day guys, Josh here again. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. Now quickly, we're going to go for a quick guide of the Deadeye of my build, which I just use to farm chaos dungeons and stuff like that, and the reasons why I use it, okay? We'll get right into it, okay? We'll get right to my character, my Deadeye, just waiting around here at the moment. So my Deadeye, he's level 51, 1056 eye level. Of course, I know I'm not the top person, but basically what we're aiming for is a lot of specialization. We don't want endurance. Endurance is ew, yucky, don't want that. But main things we want to get is crit, up to probably about 10%, and everything else is specialization, and a bit of swiftness on the side. Expertise, endurance, and domination aren't really that good, to be honest, for a Deadeye. And Deadeye just wants specialization, crit, and a bit of swiftness if you want to just dodge enemies as well. Either way, the Deadeye has a lot of movement abilities essentially on the cards, as you guys can see at the bottom menu here. So the Deadeye's got, unique abilities that, if you can see here, that instead of having a Z system, where it just has a Z power-up, it has different weapons. So we can go through the weapons, the rifle, the pistols, and the shotgun. Now, the Deadeye spec generally does not have any... If you play enhanced weapon, you don't use the rifle too much, okay? Because the rifle's not that great. You want to use between your pistols and your shotgun, basically. So basically, pistol, shotgun, that's what you're switching in between to keep the buff up. And as you can see here, the enhanced weapon, 20% crit rate. You don't need too much crit to absolutely wipe the floor with everyone. Sometimes just having a bit of crit is just fine. Now, basically the abilities he's got here, basically a lot of his abilities are not really worth anything. So it is two abilities, a Spiral Tracker and AT2 Grenade. You don't really need to use these, and Plasma Bullet, you don't really need to use these at all. There's a few other abilities that are a lot better. You can probably replace Plasma Bullet with Quick Shot, which we can do at any time. But the one ability you want is Dexterous Shot. This allows you to move quicker. Somersault Shot, that also allows you to move quicker. You also want the Enforced Execution as well, because it's a good counterattack as well. And also, not to mention, so you want the Equilibrium and Death Fire as well. These are going to be your two bread and butter moves, as Equilibrium is just a quick AoE like this. So basically, you can just clean up any mobs around you, and it does a lot of damage. It also leaves a debuff as well, basically to give 10% crit to everyone around it, which makes it a bit better. And also to mention as well, if you've got that 40% crit rate already, everything's going to crit, and it gets, even better as well. Now, Death Fire is also another your bread and butter as well. So you can see here, it's just an AoE, and then when you finish off, if you get it right, you can dodge back and throw the bombs. And, that's basically the pistol spec at the moment. The abilities you're going to use just mostly AoE, mostly debuffing mobs, and essentially, that's what it is. Now, specialization is very, very important here as well, because with the high crit rate, you can also increase your crit damage via handguns as well. So basically, if you always crit, that crit damage is going to be increased by 60%. So first it's 100%, and that damage is increased by 60%, where you can unload some serious damage with specialization. So the next part is going to be your shotgun moves. So your shotgun moves, so you know how I said rifles, they have only, basically your tripod is just 4 moves on the top for shotties, and 4 moves on the bottom for, basically rifles. So basically the part of this build is that there's really 3 main shotgun moves, and that is Sign of Apocalypse, then Last Request, then Shotgun Rapid Fire, and then Dominator. These are your main meat and potatoes you build. The Rapid Fire probably does the most damage. The third shot does a lot of damage. The final shot does a lot of damage. And basically most of this is all that every single attack is considered melee, which means you can backstab and get the back attack, and also you can crit on that back attack as well. And you can do so much damage with this as well. And even look at that, nearby foes receive 2 times damage, and these are your main meat and potatoes that will do so much damage to other mobs, basically. And that's pretty much the build on the skills area, and this is just your main ones that will just do a lot of damage if you're behind the target. Now, playstyle of, to get to the idea, we get to the engravings. Don't mind the runes, we can do those later. The engravings, what you want is that Master of Ambush is really good. So Master of Ambush getting level 2 of this will be huge. Getting level 3 is probably your ideal location as well, because Master of the Ambush, you get more successful back attacks, and the times that you crit, and it gets really high. Keen Blunt Weapons also very good as well. Increases your crit damage, helps out with pistols, but has a chance to deal 20% less damage as well. But overall, very good crit damage as well. If you crit on your Rapid Fire, it just goes insanely up. Now, another one is Contender. I don't really rate this too much at all. You probably prefer Adrenaline for the attack speed and movement speed. A lot better. And then the meat and potatoes of spec is the good old enhanced weapon. As you can see, you get to level 2 or level 3, your crit rate goes up, and that's ideal for as well. You want your crit rate to go up, and you want to have that probably 20% or 25% crit rate. And those are your engravings, basically. I don't think there's any other engravings that you really want other than, maybe Enhanced Weapon, mixture of Keen, Blunt Weapon, and Master of Ambush. Contender, not so much. You'll probably want to replace that with Spirit Absorption or Adrenaline, one of those things. Now with the gems, what you want to do is you get your main DPS weapons as well. So basically having Deathfire, Rapid Fire, and a lot of other these abilities in here as well. The Perfect Shot, I'm just going to respec that. I'm never going to use it anyway. I've been trying to get another shot as well. But, that's what you've been wanting, basically, is you want to upgrade those abilities to just basically do a lot more damage. Probably the best part here is most likely the Shotgun Rapid Fire plus damage. Probably going to be your main meat and potatoes of damage, and Equilibrium upgrade as well. As you can see here, Equilibrium does a fuck ton of damage. Now, overall with the, with the Deadeye, essentially what your Deadeye's got to do is that you got 2 movement abilities, 3 movement abilities. Being Enforced Execution, which is a pseudo movement ability, but it's usually used counter. But what you're just doing with these abilities is that you're trying to get around to the boss's back and using the backstrike. The Deadeye's biggest weakness and biggest weakness, it has to be in melee range to do a lot of damage with a shotgun. But its biggest strength as well is the massive amount of burst you could deal with the shotgun and the backstrike. And also the massive amount of AoE you can dole out as well. And also the 10% crit buff that you can put on your target to allow other characters to crit just as hard. Now, last but not least, we'll give it a bit of a whirl, give it a bit of a try. And, you guys can basically rate, how well, the Deadeye works. So basically, the Deadeye, we'll do a Chaos Dungeon. Chaos Dungeons are fairly easy, but it really exacerbates my kind of spec in these Chaos Dungeons here as well. So as you can see here, what I do is I just gather all these guys up, just do Enforced Execution here for a bit of movement, and then Equilibrium. And as you can see here, Equilibrium just basically shreds into pieces. Nothing much these guys can do. And now, basically in another scenario as well, if you've got them all in one line like that, you want to get the Dominator out and just basically destroy them. And then when you get bosses, you want to get a Rapid Fire out, because the Rapid Fire will destroy bosses very, very quickly. Now, bear in mind, when you are playing the game as well, to use your health potions, F1, liberally, okay? You get a lot of these potions in the game. You can buy them for fairly, fairly cheap as well. Now, for the Awakening ability, so there's these abilities in-game called Awakening abilities. I choose Clay Bombardment. Clay Bombardment can do a shitload of damage, and it will just basically be it'll do a 2 mil on a crit, which is huge when you think about it, and it can do 900k damage normal, and not to mention if it's a backstrike, it just goes even higher. So that basically with these guys as well, with the bosses, you may have to adjust your techniques as well. And essentially with Deathfire, you want to do it after a successful Equilibrium, just in case anyone else is alive. So basically the Equilibrium will take the shot. Well, Equilibrium will put a 10% crit rate against it, and your Deathfire will do a lot more damage. And those are some sort of things you got to do here as well. Now, if you get stuck at any time, basically Dexterous Shot will allow you to walk through mobs, okay? So that makes it a very, very good thing as well. Somersault Shot will allow you to jump over it, but the ability to walk through mobs is probably a lot better than being able than a lot of other things as well. Now, with Rapid Fire here as well, you got to be careful with this. At the start, you won't be used to with switching tripods and stuff like that. But by the end of it, you'll be used to it, knowing what weapon you've got out. But be aware as well that first thing you're gonna find really, really hard with the Deadeye is knowing which weapon you're gonna have out, and without looking down, of course, because the worst part is looking down at any time is pretty much not gonna help you out in the long run. As you can see here, just absolutely blitzing him at the moment. Now, as you can see, I'm using these potions liberally, as I said before, use them liberally. Ah! As you can see here, just blasting him away. Now, this is fairly easy content. So this is when you use the Clay Bombardment. This will do a lot of damage and probably kill a lot of people as well. There we go. Okay, let's go in. But you can see, the biggest weakness and the biggest strengths as well of the class as well. So the biggest strength of this class is that it can move very, very quickly. The biggest weakness of the class is that it's super, super squishy at the same time. So you gotta make sure you got everything right. And also, it does depend on cooldowns as well. It depends on a lot of cooldowns, as you can see here. And also, yeah, just very, very squishy overall. It doesn't have a solid single target option. All of its abilities are basically AoE. So if you want a single target stagger or anything like that, this spec really, really doesn't have it. And also, you gotta make sure you can keep control of where your character is facing as well, because a lot of your big movement abilities, other than Equilibrium and Deathfire, are conal attacks. And you want to make sure that, you want to be facing the correct direction, especially, with missing a single rapid fire could be pretty huge. Not gonna lie, it can be pretty huge. Given that your shotgun rapid fire is probably your most powerful kind of thing. So as you can see, they crit for 220k with it as well. And as you can see there, like Equilibrium can clean up, Deathfire can clean up as well. With Deathfire as well, you want to try and get to the end because every extra shot's a 15k extra DPS check. So you want to make sure you want to get it towards the end as well. You want to get it towards the end and do a fuck ton of damage. Now, with BIS lists, you just have to kind of feel out your BIS, okay? There's obviously going to be a mathematical best in slot, but there's going to be a lot of best in slots for different sort of content because the Deadeye's role changes from the set by set content. Like sometimes you may need a engraving called Grudge, which allows you to do more damages to the boss slightly. Sometimes you may need like Adrenaline or any movement things just in case people, just in case the mobs move a lot and you have to move a lot. You might have to address your gameplay, not adjust your gameplay as well to make sure, you're not using channeled abilities so much because sometimes channel abilities could be your nightmare. So for example, not using Dominator, not using Rapid Fire too much, mainly because of the fact that you have to stand still and the boss, basically will throw stuff at you and you gotta dodge it very, very quickly. Now, most of its damage abilities as a downside is channeled. So being Deathfire, being Rapid Fire, being also the Dominator, and Silent Apocalypse are all channeled. So you got to make sure that you have to quick dodge out and you lose that cooldown for that ability for quite a bit. And that's pretty much all to play a Deadeye, is that just be aware you're in melee. And also at the same time that your abilities can be animation locked as well. Well, not locked, but you need to dodge out of it, and that means you waste a cooldown on ability. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to me. Hope you guys have a great day. See you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoy this YouTube content.